Part 16. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 152. Chapter 151 Super Flying Sword. In fact, Yekong didn't say anything about the relationship with Lianrulan, but Ye Wei was the one who came here. He was savvy in the rough, and he saw the clue from the eyebrows of the two. Being elucidated by the elder brother, Yekong himself is nothing, but he is afraid that Lianrulan's face is tender. Although the blood and blood vows have been accepted, there is no real relationship between the two after all. Yekong is afraid that Lianrulan will be embarrassed. Yekong Gang wanted to explain a few words, but who knows, Lianrulan took the wine glass upright and said thank you brother, then he poured the wine down. Although Lianrulan was still a little shy, in the face of a rude man like Ye Wei, his simple words also inspired the pride of Lianrulan. At the moment, he resolutely recognized the name brother and sister. Lianrulan was so hearty that Yekong didn't need to say anything. The only trouble in his heart was how to say to Luchin. Although the 3 wives and 4 concubines were very normal in the Kangnan continent, there was also a priority. Does it make Lianrulan do it? I'm afraid that the ancestors of Ning Fanshan who rushed to Ye family would have to rush to the Ye family to work hard with themselves. Then let Luchin do it? Yekong couldn't say such words. I'm afraid that Lian Fanshan hasn't come yet, and his wife must work hard with herself first. Alas, it's harder without a wife, it's harder without a wife, and harder with more wives. However, Bazi hasn't gotten rid of it yet. Although Lianrulan vowed, Yekong still feels that the gap between the two is too big. The difference is more than 1 realm. Can the ancestors of Lingyaoshan agree? Then bow to the bridgehead naturally straight, Yekong decided not to want this problem. He asked again, brother, how is the situation at home? Speaking of the situation at home, Ye Wei immediately told him the good news. Because Bianzai was tight during the war, the emperor and Rushan could not withstand the pressure anymore and had agreed to let Yeharan go home. Now, most of his father Yeharan has already on the way. The Ye family in the southern capital has already received the news. Everyone is looking forward to it with lanterns, and counting on the days. It is estimated that at the beginning of next month, Yeharan will come home safely. When the family is happy, then it is happiness. Yekong listened, naturally very happy, although this dad didn't have much affection for him, but after all he was dad, and his mother Chen Juniang would be very happy. Hearing this news, Yekong decided to go to Linjiao Mountain with Lianrulan as soon as possible to get the elixir for the mother's face. It is best to let the mother heal his face before the father goes home. From then on, Chen Juniang could also appear in front of people. This is Yekong's long-cherished wish. Next, Yekong asked about the battle here again, and Ye Wei patted his chest and laughed. How could that brutal Chahakan be our opponent of Yejiajin? If it was not for my father to come back earlier, I am Yejiajin. As soon as the Winged Tiger Battalion came out, it would definitely be called Chahakan. Yekong was completely relieved. He originally wanted to help his elder brother to do something. Now it seems that he doesn't need it at all. If he shot Chaha Sweat by himself, it would make it harder for the father to go home. Ye Wei drank a lot of wine and was a little drunk. After the feast, he was escorted by the sergeant to rest. Yekong and Lianrulan are monks. They will not get drunk even if they drink too much wine. They took advantage of the moonlight and climbed to the high platform of Jenny's village. On the wooden walled town, there are a pair of men and women like fairy. The night breeze makes them flutter. In a certain camp in the walled town, a pair of brothers look up at Yekong's back, eyes full of resentment. Yekong stood with his hands on his shoulders, looking at the 10-year-long battalion, endlessly, and neatly lined up. Only the torches in the hands of the patrol team looked like fire snakes. Looking at them, shocked, spectacular. Looking at the opposite, there are also rolling, countless white felt barracks, under the moonlight, white light, and between the camps on both sides, there are countless crows, fluttering up and down, looking for corpses to peck. Let's set off for Lingyaoshan tomorrow, Ye Kong said. Okay, Lian Rulan nodded, took out 2 small gourds from the storage bracelet and handed them to Ye Kong, and asked, when did you drink these cups of Lingquan? I got 5 spirits, and you got 5 cups of spirits, so you don't need to give them to me. You need this more, don't be hypocritical. Lian Rulan gave him a white look and shoved the 2 gourds into his hands. It is indeed that he needs the Lingquan even more. Ye Kong embarrassedly scratched his head, and said, will you give me 5 spiritual cards? Who knew that in exchange for Lian Rulan's white eyes? Small thief, don't come with me this set, the 5 Lingcams are also the best for you, and I can't use them. But I can't use it for the time being, Ye Kong sighed. It turned out that each of the 5 Lingcams recorded a refining method of the destiny magic, gold, wood, water, fire, soil, 5 attributes according to the records in Ling Cambodia. Any one of them has far more power than ordinary magic weapons. If it is the spiritual root of the 5 elements, you can refining all 5 flying swords to form a 5-element sword array, let alone the power. Now, the monk Yuan Ying has to go around. Of course, the 5-element sword array is the most suitable for Ye Kong, which makes him full of expectations for the future, but the destiny magic weapon cannot be refined until the Dandan period, which is too far away for Ye Kong. In addition, the materials for refining the 5-handed super flying sword are also things that are hard to find for thousands of years. Ye Kong was afraid that he would reach the Yuan infant period, and the 5-element sword array could not be refined. I had known that throwing the 5 Linggans to the Lingbone Gate was almost useless to me, Ye Kong said, shaking his head. Who said it was useless? The 5 elements sword formation is just right for your spiritual roots. You didn't look at that Ling Cambodia and said, the 5 elements sword formation is in your hand, and the world will let you go. Think of a monk Jadan who can let Yuan Ying ancestors go, how magical is this? Ye Kong smiled bitterly. Did you not look at the materials needed for the 5 elements sword formation? Not to mention the other swords, let's say the Zeolai sword, but the strong water in the underground magma is the main material. Will there be water in this magma? It's hot water, Lian Rulan reminded. What kind of water is strong water? Ye Kong asked back. Lian Rulan also smiled bitterly, I have never heard of it before. Ye Kong then indignantly said, even if there is really strong water, let's talk about the Kangbei cold fire sword of the fire attribute. The main material needs the northernmost end of the Kangbei mainland, taken from the cold fire of the extremely cold place. He didn't know that the Kangnan and Kangbei continents haven't communicated for many years. Lian Rulan chuckled, this is really impossible. The Kangbei mainland has been separated from Kangnan for more than 100,000 years. No one knows how to get there, and no one knows what the situation is over there. The cold fire is estimated to belong to daydreaming. Even in the Yuan infant period, you can't get the cold in Kangbei. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 153. Chapter 152, Expressing Truth. Lian Rulan persuaded, at least there are still flying swords that can be made, such as the first, the metallic Shenbi Wujin sword, the 10,000-year-old Shenmue, and the Wujin raw materials. My grandpa took me when I was a kid. At the Yujia Zongbeo auction, I once saw these 2 materials with my own eyes, especially the 10,000-year-old sunken wood, although valuable, but as long as this industry has it, there is hope. Ye Kong nodded, he was also excited by these super flying swords, and he was infinitely powerful. Say Xia Yuan Hao and that hot monk's innate magic weapon, it is much more powerful than the magic weapon. If this super magic weapon is refined, who else is Lao Tzu's opponent? So, thief, you still have to work hard to improve your realm. Lian Rulan looked at Ye Kong with anticipation, and said, otherwise, let me and the head talk, let you join the Potion Mountain, our potion there is ample supply of Mandarin medicine and good benefits, and our spiritual medicine mountain has more aura than Bone Spirit Mountain, and it is most suitable for retreat. To tell the truth, Yekong has always wanted to join the Xianxian martial arts. With the martial arts asylum, he is not afraid of harassment by others. The cultivation speed is faster, the safety is guaranteed, and the elixir is guaranteed. Much better. How is it, little thief, are you tempted? Lian Ruolan asked with a smile. Yekong grinned, in fact, those are not important. The most tempting thing is that I can see you every day in the future. After hearing such a love affair, Lian Ruolan felt happy to die, but said something wrong with her mouth. Cut, little thief, who wants you to see me every day? Seeing Lian Ruolan's eyes flowed in spring, gentle and eager, Yekong was also refreshed, and when she saw Lian Ruolan, she was all playing and arrogant. Where I saw her, her tenderness was like water. She felt itchy and couldn't help but feel the urge to rub her pink stock. But when Yekong's evil black hand just stretched out, he heard Lian Ruolan suddenly sighed resentfully. No, the timing is wrong. Yekong quickly retracted his hand and looked up to see Lian Ruolan again. I saw that in the faint moonlight, Lian Ruolan's face was sad, her eyebrows froze, her eyes seemed to have an inexplicable sadness, and it was my pity that I saw, which made people want to use her life to untie her. Yekong didn't know why she suddenly changed her mood so suddenly, and asked, if Ruolan, why sigh? Our business, I'm afraid the head of the mountain and the elders. Lian Ruolan said quietly. Lian Ruolan didn't say it, but Yekong already understood that Lian Ruolan was worried that the head and elders of Linjiao Mountain would not agree that Lian Ruolan was good with himself. After all, a monk with a different spiritual root is so difficult to find. Lian Ruolan is born with flowers and jade, and those real ancestors will not watch Lian Ruolan and his five-element hybrid roots become acquaintances. Although Yekong is from the modern age, he also knows that this Kangnan continent, especially among the monks, has a very strong concept of door. Compared with Lian Ruolan, the distance between them is too great. Regardless of qualifications, it's still cultivation, or the backstage. It's basically a heaven and a ground. Even if Yekong is the elder of Linjiao Mountain, he won't let the best disciple in the door marry a four-layer refining gas without any background. Of the spiritual roots. When Lian Ruolan said something, she saw Yekong's face look dark, and she felt a pain in her heart. She said quickly, don't worry about it, rest assured. She is very fond of me, like the star and a sandbox. I gave them all the magic instruments. The more she spoils you, the less she will agree. Yekong Gli said. Lian Ruolan probably thought of this too. She said a pause, then bit her lip with her teeth and said, if they don't agree, I will fight with death. Looking at Lian Ruolan's absolute look, Yekong was startled. He knew that with Lian Ruolan's temperament, she could really do everything. Yekong's heart moved, but he couldn't look at Lian Ruo. Lan is so. Ruolan, do you believe me? Yekong asked suddenly. Believe? Lian Ruolan nodded. Heart said, little thief, I have known you so far, but I have never believed in you. I only listened to Yekong and said, in fact, I tell you that I am practicing an extremely stable basic technique. As the technique states, every breakthrough is not difficult, and even the ascension of immortality is an absolute success. When Lian Ruolan heard it, she was stunned and opened her rosy mouth. You should know that in this world, the ultimate dream of all monks is to be promoted to the last term. It is already possible to cross the entire Kangnan continent. According to records, the most recent monk ascending the immortal was 5,000 years ago. Yekong then said, but although this method is magical, it has several disadvantages. Firstly, it requires 5 roots to practice, and secondly, it takes a very long time to break through this method. In other words, my cultivation is very slow. 100 monks practice at the same time. If the last one is the slowest, it must be me. Oh, that's it, Lian Ruolan nodded. After all, everything has its advantages and disadvantages. Compared to the attraction of Xianxia, it is slower and understandable. I can wait, Lian Ruolan thought again and said, in fact, if you tell these things to the door they should be able to allow you and me. Lian Ruolan blushed, and then said, but you can't say, except you, don't tell anyone in the future, it is the dream of all immortals to rise to the immortal. If you let outsiders know, it will definitely cause you a great disaster. Yekong nodded, and he told Lian Ruolan that he did not want Lian Ruolan to return them to the mountain gate, but let Lian Ruolan not worry about his slow ascension. I tell you this, the purpose is to make you wait for peace of mind, do not rush to return our relationship back to Lishanmen, wait until Yesungzio is enough, the realm is reached. Yekong looked at the distance with an empty hand, proudly said, at that time, I will certainly drive the colorful clouds to Linjao mountain, and propose to your head or elders. Thinking of the scene of that day, Lian Ruolan's face was ashamed, and she nodded, I believe you, but then she pressed her lips again, if you don't tell the door what I swear by blood, then we have to. There is a lover who doesn't want to stay together. If the relationship is hidden, even if Yekong successfully joins the Elixir Mountain, the two cannot meet often to avoid everyone's eyes. It is very painful to be willing to be close to the horizon, but you see meet across the water. Ruolan, in my hometown, there is a TV series. Yekong reached out and caught Lian Ruoyan's pair of Ruoyi, and stared at her with her eyes said, there is a moment of refreshment, it's happy, there is pain and happiness, it's only happiness that lasts a lifetime. That's a good deal if you endure it for a lifetime. To the reader. The names of the guest came down, Xioman will arrange it at the right time, but some names are difficult to arrange, and have to wait for the right person. Thank you for your support. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 154. Chapter 153, Elixir Mountain. It's good for a while, it's so happy, it's painful, and it's happy, it's only happiness for a lifetime. Lian Ruolan groaned again and laughed, I thought your hometown was as unruly as that Buddha. Well, there are also serious people. I think this surname is really reasonable. Yekong almost heard that he was going to fall down the walled city, and the TV series became a surname Electric. He didn't know if there was a surname Electric. This person with the surname of Electricity is good. I used to watch him every day. Yekong smiled and said, so if you go back this time, don't mention it for the time being. Besides, you can rest assured, although my practice speed is at slower, but I do have a bottleneck. I should catch up with you and do spend too much time. And this time, I found something. What is it? Lian Ruolan asked, looking up. I found that Xianyuan needs to find it by itself, just like these 5 cups of Lingquan. If I stayed in Nandu City, how could I not get the Xianyuan? So there is no pie falling in the sky, and the pie depends on find it yourself. You're right. Lian Ruolan nodded, but then looked up and asked, what is the pie? Is it your hometown? There are so many strange things in your hometown, I really want to go to you. Take a look at your hometown. Okay, we are talking about these horrible things in the next month, Yekong said, and stretched out his hand. Lian Ruolan's body fell into his arms, and the magic hand soon followed. The silky powder back slides down. Necrosis. Lian Ruolan couldn't take it anymore, and pushed Yekong away, blushing, and fled away like a flea. Linjao Mountain is located at the northernmost point of Anguo. The mountains here are rolling and lush, and the school of Linjao Mountain is located in the highest one among the mountains. If mortals look at it, the difference between Lingyaoshan and other hills is a little higher, but in fact it is a great fantasy formation set by the cultivator to prevent worldly people from disturbing him. This magic formation can cover the entire seed. The mountain peak, you can imagine the strength of the elixir mountain, and say that the magic stone consumed by this fantasy array every day is also beyond the reach of ordinary martial arts. If you pass through the magic array, you can see the magnificence of the elixir mountain, surrounded by the aura of the mountain, with strange fairy birds flying from time to time, the tall palaces on the mountain rolling up and down, and a huge elixir palace on the top of the mountain flickering in the cloud. Now, people are amazed. The magic array outside the magic medicine mountain is very troublesome to open and close each time, and it is famous for alchemy, so monks come every day. Some people ask for help, some people ask for help with alchemy, and some hope to join the martial arts. You can't just stay out of the gate, but you can't let them fly in and out at will, so outside the magic circle, that is, at the foot of the mountain, there will be a reception of the elixir mountain, which is the concierge. The concierge is on duty every day, responsible for reporting the news, and is also responsible for inspecting security. Of course, in general, no one would dare to disturb the spiritual medicine mountain, so those who do things are those who practice gas repairing minor repairs, and the guardian-like immortals like to stay in the hall behind the concierge and drink tea. Spanking. On this day, there were 3 monks sitting in the hall, all of whom were in the foundation period, and 2 men and 1 woman were talking. Brother Bai, why have I always failed in refining Huang Longdan? Envy Huang Yi looked up and asked a handsome man in a white robe. The handsome man, Bai, has not spoken yet, and a young boy-like monk in the opposite stepped in and laughed. Sister Lu, that's because you are uneasy, thinking about Brother Bai every day. Of course, alchemy cannot be done. Go to you. Brother Ma, if you say such things again, Sister Lu will be angry. Although Sister Lu said this, she was not angry, but stared at Brother Bai, and saw that this woman Jiu is very interesting to Brother Bai. However, the female nun was not angry, which did not mean that other people were not angry. Brother Bai frowned, and said politely to the young monk, Brother Ma, I don't want to say such rumors in the future. If I am heard by outsiders, I think and what's the relationship between Master Lu? As soon as Brother Bai made this remark, the woman in yellow dress suddenly looked bitter, and she could see that Brother Bai had no affection for her. Sister Lu was upset, but she didn't say it, but Brother Ma wasn't afraid of Brother Bai and murmured, Cut, don't you just think of Sister Rulan. Unfortunately, the flowers are intentional, and the water is ruthless. Hearing ironically, Brother Bai was furious in his heart, but instantly smiled back. Brother Bai laughed, Yes, I like Sister Rulan, but I still have hope. No matter what, I have entered the late foundation period. After finishing speaking, he lifted his big sleeves and raised the tea bowl. He also said sarcastically, unlike some people, when he was only in the early stages of foundation, he couldn't keep up with Master Rulan's cultivation, and Toad wanted to eat swan meat. He smiled ironically, took a sip of water, and said, Whimsy. It seems that this young monk, Master Ma, also has some ideas for Lian Rulan. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 155. Chapter 154 Jealousy. Na Ma's personality is straightforward, and relying on himself as a close disciple of Yuanying's ancestors, he suddenly annoyed, Brother Bai, don't you deceive people too much, don't think that you are high, or how about us then billion? Big alchemy? Don't you just rely on the vanity of the ancestors of Fanshan? Brother Bai smiled shamefully, unfortunately, the ancestors of Fanshan liked you again, but they just borrowed the emptiness from you. In the end, they will never pass on. For you. Seeing that the words of the 2 colleagues were getting more and more direct and the anger was getting stronger, Sister Lu couldn't help but sighed and said pitifully, Well. I really envy Sister Rulan. They have been out of the mountain for a year, and also someone was jealous of her. Oh, unfortunately, I don't think you have any hope. Although Master Lu said this, Brother Bai and Brother Ma couldn't help but sigh. Although this refining Rulan is the dream lover of countless male monks in Lingyaoshan, she never looked at which male monk she looked at. Regardless of whether she has a high skill in refining medicine or a high level of cultivation, it seems that she has never tempted. Brother Bai put down the tea bowl. There was something in his heart, there was no hope. I tried to know that he is the fastest monk among the 3 generations of monks in Lingyaoshan. If Lian Lan wanted to find an ant, among his peers, that is, they are the most suitable. At this time, I heard Sister Lu say again, I heard from the master the day before, Sister Rulan came back a few days ago. Alas, I don't know how many males have to lose sleep. She sighed and thought, why doesn't this nurture Rulan find a man quickly, otherwise, is there a way for the nuns in this medicine mountain to survive? At this moment, a pair of fairy-like men and women are standing on a flying carpet outside Linjao Mountain, looking at Linjao Mountain not far away. Little thief, when do you drink those spirit springs? Lian Rulan asked. Of course she hoped that Yekong's realm would be improved as quickly as possible, so that their time together would come faster. This girl is so anxious to marry. Yekong smiled and said, I have to send back the medicine for treating my face first. If I drink Lingquan, it will take time to make a breakthrough, which will delay the time for me to go back. Yekong thought. Be sure before Dad went home, he cured Chen Juniang's face and surprised Yeharan. That's fine, you can go back quickly. Lian Rulan finished, feeling as if he couldn't live without him. His face flushed, and he lowered his head. I haven't left yet, you just let me go back quickly. Without my face cure, how could I go? Yekong Han said with a smile, and said, in fact, you also have Jin Lingan and Earth Spirit. Rude. If I give you a copy of the metallic and earthy attributes of the 5 spiritual cards, so that you can also have the opportunity to make 2 powerful flying sword magic weapons after you have formed a bud. Lian Rulan shook her head and said, I can't use Fijian. After I have formed the Dan, I will definitely accept the Void Tribe of Lingyaoshan as the magic weapon. The power of one is infinite, so you don't have to worry about it. That was the case. Yekong nodded, and smiled. I don't tell you, I am a rookie in the world of immortality, I have never seen what Yao Ding looks like. At this time, the two had reached the magical field of Lingyaoshan, and Lian Rulan returned to Lingyaoshan, who had been away for a long time, with joy on his faces, and said, you can see soon. Uncle Bai, Uncle Lu, and Uncle Ma, hurry up. Hurry up. In the hall of the Linjao Mountain Gatehouse, he suddenly ran into a young monk during the refining period. His expression was very tense, as if there was something earth-shattering. The 3 archaeologists who were sulking just now stood up, and Brother Bai asked quickly, what's wrong? Is there an enemy invading Lingyaoshan? No, it's Rulan coming back to the mountain. Lian Xianxia gasped and said, it's just outside. Before the gas refining minor repair was finished, Brother Bai and Brother Ma rushed out in a gust of wind, leaving only Lu Shimei alone. Come back. Why are you so nervous? A little monk during the gas gathering period, what's the fun? Master Lu also snorted coldly, and Ting Ting walked towards the door. Sister Rulan, you are finally back. Brother Bai strode forward, greeting with affectionate faces. Brother Bai, I haven't seen you in a long time, Lian Rulan said politely, but the enthusiasm facing Yekong was gone. Sister Rulan, you are all at the top of the middle of the construction period. It seems that it is still very rewarding to go out to practice. Ma Shidi, who was in the early stage of construction, also came up, feeling a frustration in his heart. But he practiced slowly. When can he be matched with his sister? Looking at the teachers and brothers and sisters of the family, Yekong didn't speak, and stood aside, and the heart-refining Rulan was really welcomed by everyone. Look at these 2 boys, I'm afraid they are also seekers. Sister Rulan, who is this? Sister Lu, who came out later, asked with a smile. She was still happy, thinking that Lian Rulan had an acquaintance, but when she saw that boy's cultivation, She was half-hearted. "Oh, this is a monk I met on the road. I brought him back, and wanted to ask master to agree to him to join the Elixir Mountain." Lien Ruolan did not want to introduce Ye Kong, not to despise Ye Empty, and afraid that he would be suppressed in Ling Yaoshan in the future because of himself. When Lien Ruolan spoke, she asked, "Master, is he in Dongfu?" "Being here, Brother Bai quickly answered. "Then I will go to the cave of the master to explain the missions. I also asked Master Ma to help my friend to arrange a clean residence." Okay. Brother Ma looked at Lien Ruolan's perfect face, his eyes couldn't be moved, and no matter what, he just knew the answer. "Then, just go and have a rest with Master Ma, and I'll find you later." Lien Ruolan smiled at Ye Kong Janyan and left. God! The frosty Ruolan fairy smiled. Looking at the beauty that was more like peach blossoms, even the mature and elder Brother Bai had a short absence. "What is the name of this Taoist?" "Come with me." Brother Ma and other Lien Ruolan disappeared completely, and then they returned to God. "Oh, here is a casual repair called Ye Kong." Ye Kong was prepared like a magic medicine mountain. Of course, he didn't have to hide his name. "Oh, Ye Daiu, come here." Brother Ma led Ye Kong into the mountain guard of Ling Yaoshan. Sister Ruolan has an unusual relationship with Ye Daiu, Sister Lu said to herself. Her Brother Bai thought, how could it be, this is just a little monk in the middle of gas refining, so many monks at Linjiao Mountain disdain, how could it be a minor repair in the middle of gas refining? Is Lan blind? Brother Bai snorted and heard the irony of Sister Lu. Have you ever seen Sister Ruolan showing off his face to a man? Brother Bai paced his steps, but immediately accelerated his pace, and hated Ye Kong in his heart. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 156. Chapter 155. The Master. Entering the magical array of Ling Yaoshan, looking at the magnificent pavilion buildings, it seems as if they have come to the wonderland of the world. Even Ye, who has seen the Hollywood blockbuster, can't help but marvel at the power of this fairy. Feeling the Reiki concentration of Linjiao Mountain again, Ye Kong is more satisfied. This is twice as strong as the Reiki of Bingling Mountain. Compared with here, the Reiki in Nandu City cannot be described by thinness. Ye Kong thought that if he practiced here, he would definitely get twice the result with half the effort. If he was paired with the elixir of the Elixir Mountain, he would practice several times faster. Thinking of this, Ye Kong could not help but look forward to joining Ling Yaoshan like never before. Dare to ask Ma Daiu, how many monks are there in Linjiao Mountain? Ye Kong is a lower level than the surname Ma. If you join Linjiao Mountain, you have to call him uncle to see if they are almost the same age. Let the leaf hollow be upset. Speaking of how many monks there are in Linjiao Mountain, Master Ma smiled proudly. I do not know how many monks in Linjiao Mountain, because there are too many. I think there are thousands of them. There are as many as 5 infant monks, which is the most popular monk in the southern Kangzhou continent. I heard that there are 5 monks in the elixir medicine. This leaves Ye Kong unable to hold back his tongue, and he has to say that the elixir is invincible. Gillingman is desperate to have a monk in the medicine. There are as many as 5, people have to marvel at the strength of Ling Yaoshan. Brother Ma was very happy at Ye Kong's surprise, and only heard him say, we are more famous for our spiritual medicine mountain, that is, my master, that is, everyone in Kangnan. But his alchemy technique is a must, and he is very polite, so he can be called the first monk of the Elixir Mountain. No wonder the outside world is talking about cultivating Fanshan, this is the reason. Ye Kong asked again, what about the others? Others, there is an Uncle Hung Ham, Brother Ma is the foundation period, he should be called the Yuanying period monk ancestor, but his master is the Yuanying period, so he is called Uncle. Uncle Hung Ham is Yuanying's early cultivation was very harsh, and most of the monks in the mountains were her apprentices. Ye Kong nodded, and it seemed that the ancestor of the Red Sister was a nun, and he asked, what about the other 3? Ma Shidi scratched his head and smiled, I don't know those three. They have never been out. It's been 100 years since the retreat. I have joined Ling Yaoshan until now, and I haven't seen them yet, and mysteriously said to Yekong, I heard that all three of them have entered the late Yuanying period, but that is the real monk. There are actually three major monks in Linjiao Mountain. Yekong couldn't help but marvel. In this world, the late Yuanying period can go sideways. As for the later deification period, it is the legend. Is there any? No one knows. Let us have a magic potion. Mountain Brother Ma said, close to Yekong, and whispered, my sister-in-law, that is, the master of Sister Rulan, Monk Kinju has also been successful. If not, unexpectedly, we are about to usher in the sixth ancestor of the elixir. 6 ancestors, this elixir is really not an ordinary cow. Yekong took a cool breath and asked again, what is the relationship between this young monk and the oldest ancestor of Hongyi? Sisters? I don't know. Sister Rulan didn't tell you, Brother Ma snorted. He was also worried that Sister Rulan had a close relationship with the young monk. Now it doesn't look like this, even these basic circumstances say. In fact, Yekong and Lian Rulan were together every day, and they felt too much to say. Of course, most of them were nonsense, so much nonsense, there was no chance to say it. Yekong didn't explain, he smiled, how can Lian Zhenren tell me this? Brother Ma patted Yekong and laughed, these are common sense. If you can really join the mountain of elixir, you know a lot of things yourself. At that time, we must invite Ma Daiyu to carry it, Yekong said politely. Although this boy also likes to practice Rulan, Yekong likes this guy's temper. He is not bad or insidious. After introducing the situation in the mountain, Brother Ma couldn't help asking Yekong how he knew Lian Rulan, and how Lian Rulan agreed to take him back to the mountain to worship. Yekong had already prepared to answer. As soon as he said, Brother Ma did not doubt. Soon, the two came to a spacious and refined house in the mountains. There were 3 big characters on it, Yingban building, which seemed to be dedicated to receiving foreign monks. In the past few days, you live here, and if Sister Lan decides to go there, after worshipping, he will arrange a special monk's dormitory. When you reach the foundation period, you can go to Huishan to open a cave. Master Ma led Yekong into the Yingban building. Yekong went in for a look, but it was somewhat similar to the upper hotel on the earth. There was a reception desk at the door, and 2 female corrections in the gas refining period chatted behind. When they saw them coming in, the 2 nuns of gas refinement stood up and said respectfully, Uncle Ma. Master Ma nodded. Not only was he the base builder, but also a close disciple of Lian Fanchen, of course, he was full-fledged, and said, this is the one brought by Master Ruo Lan, and arranged a room for him. The location is better, Lingxi, just count less. Yekong fainted, dare to live here and want money, but it is also normal to think about it. When I lived in the VIP building in Beizifang City, wasn't it for money? Seeing Yekong's complexion change, Master Ma thought Yekong had no money, and quickly said, Ye Daiyu, don't worry, it won't be very expensive. If you don't have it, then I will borrow you. Although the elixir mountain is rich, it is not given to monks casually. Even a close disciple like Master Ma, there are only dozens of spiritual stones in a month, and it is necessary to save flowers. I have what I have, Yekong quickly responded. He didn't, the others were quite a lot. The salesman made thousands of pieces, and he robbed thousands of them from the real man in the bald eagle. The warehouse has been searched a lot. Now that there are nearly 10,000 spirit stones in stock, how can there be no money for rent? Oh, the 2nd and 4th rooms upstairs are standard upper rooms. According to regulations, there are 5 spirit stones per day. If you have 3 discounts, how about it? The waitress is afraid that 3 spirit stones are too expensive. After all, a small scattered repair on the 4th floor of gas refining has a spirit stone like a baby, So how can I give 3 spirit stones for 1 day's rent? That's it, it's not expensive. Yekong nodded quickly and agreed. Is it worth 3 spirit stones a day? Not expensive. In the ghost place of Beizongjai, there are 3 spirit stones a day. Yekong left 3 spirit stones at hand, went upstairs, came to the room, and Master Ma's task was completed, and he left. This upper room is really very good. You can open the window to watch the magical scenery of the Magic Medicine Mountain. There is also free drinking of tea in the room. It is even more intimate, even in the room. Once set, it can be used as long as the spirit stone is plugged in, and this array is a little stronger than the spiritual practice. Since promised Ruolan to work hard, Yekong didn't want to slack off anymore. He took a look at the scenery a bit, and inserted a spirit stone into the formation. Sitting cross-legged on a soft bedding. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 157. 156 Rune Protection Film. Once, hello, are you awake? Every time you meditate before you meditate on Huan Quan's ancestor, this is already a habit of him, but think about it, resisting the explosion with the power of the remaining Yuan Ying. The power of Huan Quan's ancestors must not be small this time. It is estimated that he will not wake up for the time being. Yekong Shen was afraid that he would sleep for 10,000 years, so he could not fulfill his promise to Huan Quan's ancestors. After greeting the ancestors, Yekong wanted to meditate, but when he thought about it, the practice was not in a hurry. Maybe if she practiced Ruolan immediately, she would call herself. It might be better to study the protective film on the magic charm during this time. Yekong patted the storage bag, took out the mammoth beast bone, cut out a small piece with a small sword, put it in the ring, grind it into powder, and poured some clean water into a white paste. This is how to remove the frown and the magic charm. Originally, he took out an ice needle spell, but think about it, it is too expensive to take the middle-ranked amulet for the experiment, so he replaced it with a lower-ranked earthen rune. Think about it, put the earthen amulet back again, and finally took out a stack of low-grade blank rune paper. Since it is an experiment, isn't it the same as taking a blank rune paper? Pick up the wolf's eyebrows, and dip it into the thick liquid grinded by the mammoth beast bones. Yekong now has a very high success rate for painting lower-level spells. It is normal to draw one successfully. But the fireball spell was drawn, but Yekong frowned again. This fireball spell is quite stable. It doesn't need a spell to trigger it, it won't start at all. Imagine those who break the protective film, don't read the fireball spell while destroying it. Despite this thought, Yekong experimented, dried the ink, and wiped it with a small sword on the surface of the rune. No, Yekong shook his head and looked at the rune being shaved, and he lost his thoughts. How can I run this rune and burn it? The highest point of the mountain behind the elixir is to refinance the ancestors' cave. Lian Ruolan is reporting to Master Sun Qingqing on this experience. This time down, more than 100 barbarian monks were killed, and at the same time, the conspiracy of the barbarian skeletons to help the barbarian mortal army defeat the army of our country. Lian Ruolan didn't say anything about Ling Quan and Ling Zhan. She knew that even a monk such as the Green Ancestor was very attractive to those 5 superb flying swords. Moreover, the people who are immortals are very selfish, they are not enough to get it themselves, they can't get others to get it, killing small air refining minor repairs like Yekong, and not let the content of Lingan be known to others. Just as easily as pinching an ant. After listening to Ruo Ian's report, the old ancestor of the Qing dynasty laughed. It seems that this training is still very good for you. You have to remember that the number of monks killed and what tasks have been completed are not the most important. Refining Ruolan said, of course, these are not the most important. The most important thing is to know the thief. Lian Ruolan's heart warmed and her eyesight became much softer, which made the old ancestor's heart move. She continued, the most important purpose of the Xianxian people is to experience the warmth of the world and experience the world. The so-called entry before entering the world is the most important training purpose. Second, let you kill the monks. Not the fundamental purpose. Lian Ruolan laughed, it's to give me more practical experience, so that I won't really run into rivals in the future. Green ancestors also pamper Ruolan very much. If someone else rushes to talk, he must be reprimanded. Lan Ruolan scrambled, but the old ancestor laughed, dead girl, just be smart. Lian Ruolan looked at the old ancestor in a good mood and quickly took the opportunity to say, Master, this time I met a little monk in Beizongfang city. Although this person's cultivation is not high, the technique of the charm is very good. Well, at a young age, many ancient spells will be lost. The ancestor of Qingyuan didn't care about these books, but she could hear the ancient spells lost in ancient times, and her eyes lighted up and asked, oh? The ancient lost magics? What is the magic? Front sign, the front sign of spiritual dedication. The Qingzu ancestor was very interested, and said, he will seal the formation into a spell. The response of the ancestors of King Yi is the same as that of the Yi family. At first, we must know that the matrix method is complicated, and there can be no slight deviation in all directions. Spells, from complexity to simplification, from decay to magic, even those who have never studied matrix can easily use it. What a great pioneering work, what a gospel to monks who are not proficient in the formation. This kind of talent must catch the elixir mountain. However, as soon as Lian Ruolan said, the ancestor of Qingying was disappointed. Many people have also asked about other formation methods, but he can only practice spiritual exercises. Lian Ruolan said. Oh, that's it. The old ancestor of King Hua could not help but sighed and thought that he had picked up the treasure. Who knew it was a garbage, and spiritual practice was sitting there? Lian Ruolan said, I have already asked this person, and he is very eager for my elixir mountain, so he dared to bring it back. The spiritual medicine mountain is not a big thing to collect personally. Although the spiritual cultivation symbols are garbage, they are also considered special. The ancestor of the Qing dynasty did not blame it, but smiled. However, what Lian Ruolan thought was not so simple, but said, Master, the disciple feels that this person will have great success in the future, so he wants to ask him to accept him as a disciple. In these big schools of self-cultivation, there is a big difference between the self-disciplined disciples and the registered disciples. The disciple not only has a high status, is well treated, and even the miscellaneous service is more comfortable. If it is a self-disciplined disciple of a well-known monk in Yamauchi, it is even more remarkable. Yamanaka's spells, magical powers, elixir recipes, refining tools, etc. all have the privilege of freely checking and borrowing. The old ancestor of Qingyuan originally thought that this person was a Lian Ruolan and brought it back casually, but he could not help himself when he heard that he wanted to be a disciple by himself. He asked in a hurry, what kind of cultivation is this, what is your qualifications, and your family background? Refining Ruolan is also selfish. If the ancestor of King Yi accepts Yekong, then the two can often meet each other. Master, I have made a clear investigation. He is the 8th son of General Nquaj Nan. He is honest and of good qualifications. Although he is currently lower, he is very hard-working and has amazing things. If Yekong hears Lian Ruolan's evaluation, he will definitely vomit blood, so I call him honest. Still qualified. Oh my God, you're too open to talk nonsense. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 158. Obstacles in the Mountains. Lian Ruolan was worried that her old ancestor would ask again, holding Master's arm is a coquettish, and to say that this beautiful woman is really good, and it is lethal to men and women. Ching Ching's ancestor should have been tired of her, and he patted Lian Ruolan's head and said, "Let us take him to the head of the office for the record, then bring him to me and show me before making a decision." Lian Ruolan laughed, "That's good." Although Yakong is the root of the 5 elements, she thought that with Yakong's ability to break through the early stages of the refining period, plus the esteem of her husband, she should have no problem. However, when Lian Ruolan was about to go out, she remembered another thing and asked, "Master, there is one more thing for the child to ask Master to help." "Oh, let's hear it." Green ancestor took a sip of Ling Cha. "That's right, I want to ask for a whitening elixir, the one that treats scars and moles on the face. Lian Ruolan is naturally beautiful, and she never inquires about these beauty elixir." The ancestor of Qing Yuan listened to her and couldn't help but nervous. "Ruolan, but you hurt your body in a foreign calendar." Lian Ruolan laughed, "Master, no, it is, my friend's mother needs it, it's immortal. I originally wanted to go to the library to find it, but I was worried that it was all monastic elixir. It didn't work for mortals, so I asked Master help me." The ancestor of Qing Yuan felt a little strange. To her apprentice, she knew very well. In the past, in Ling Yaoshan, Lian Ruolan had no intersection with those men, and those nuns were jealous of their beauty, so Lian Ruolan was not a friend. And this time, she even said a friend herself, which surprised the old ancestor of King Yu. "Friend? Did you know it during the training? What about people? Selfishness and mischief among monks, if you are Lan, don't be fooled." Lian Ruolan said busily, "Master, no, he is very honest, simple and honest. He has always been lied to by others. He also said that it is a blessing to suffer." The green ancestor laughed. "There are such old ox monks, then you can't bully others." Lian Ruolan was depressed, and she didn't know who was bullying who, the means by which the bad boy bullied me, couldn't think of it, and blushed at the first thought. The green ancestor did not notice that Lian Ruolan was blushing, and she rummaged in her storage bracelet. Then she took out a spiritual card, lifted the jade hand, and the green spiritual card flew to Lian Ruolan. "This is the formula of several whitening and scar-removing medicines that Master used hundreds of years ago, especially the kind of Qinjian Dan, which has an effect on mortal monks." Lian Ruolan took Ling Cambodia and said, "Thank you, Master." "This girl." Kingzu's ancestor laughed and cursed, and suddenly thought that Lian Ruolan evaluated her friends and the monks brought up the mountain are honest, and could not help but feel depressed. "When did you have so many honest monks?" She was about to think about it, and suddenly her heart moved, raising her beautiful eyes, and a golden light flew. She raised her hand to catch it, explored with spiritual knowledge, and then stood up, wondering, "It's not time for the Yi family to pay the bill this season." Not to mention the ancestors of Qingying, but to say that Lian Ruolan came out of Dongfu, she wanted to call Yakong, but she had to fly over the martial arts hall in the middle of Linjiashan on the Yingbanlu road, so she lowered the magic weapon. "First see if the head brother is present, then call the thief." Lian Ruolan walked into the hall and went straight to the room where the real person in charge was. Generally speaking, the head of the secular martial gang must be the highest in martial arts, and the gang is his. He is the supreme ruler, and he can decide everything about the gang. But the head of the immortal school is not the same. The immortals are indifferent and focus on cultivation. Everyone is busy retreating. Even if they are not retreating, they will go out to find treasures and spiritual materials. Who wants to be troubled by those customs? How about it? Therefore, the heads of the martial arts are generally selected from the foundation period. They are not young, they are mature, they have the ability to deal with people, and most importantly, there is no real person who hopes to break through. Therefore, the head is also dealing with some daily affairs. There is a big deal. You must ask the elder Yuanying in the door, and the elder Yuanying is closed. Then ask the elder Dan. In short, the power of the Xianxia is very small, far from the worldly leader X, let alone the ancestors, even the relatives and disciples of the Yuanying ancestors, he dare not offend at will. The head of Linjiao Mountain is a fat middle-aged man. His cultivation practice in the later period of construction was very smooth. When he saw Lianruolan coming, he happily greeted him. Yeah. If Sister Lan returns to the mountain, Zhao Wei breaks through again, and will soon catch up with me, the head said enthusiastically. Lianruolan nodded implicitly, I've seen the head brother. If the brother is not entangled with common affairs, I am afraid that he will enter the period of dandan. The head of the real man smiled bitterly, it's impossible, my brother's qualifications. I don't know how many times he was scolded by the ancestor of Fanshan. It is absolutely impossible to break through. Lianruolan has no intention of chatting with him. Brother in charge, here I have two things, one is to eliminate the task of training. Oh, yes, the head of the real man patted his head and walked to the side of the room. Here was a large black cabinet with countless small doors on the wall. The real man uttered a spell, his fingers moved quickly, and one of them hung the small cabinet door with the name of Ruolan opened. Then the real person in charge took out a storage bag from it, raised his hand again, the door closed, the name of Lianruolan on the door gave a white light, and then disappeared. This is the sister's monk card, as well as your spiritual stone offerings over the past year, all here. The real person in charge poured out the contents of the storage bag. Lianruolan didn't look at it, she put everything into the storage bracelet, and then she said, brother in charge, and the second thing is to trouble brother. This time I went out to practice and brought back a refinery period minor repair. This person will be useful to me in the future, so I have accused my master agreed to accept him as a disciple, so I will register with you first. Oh, okay, you can bring people, as long as they meet the requirements, you can do it right away. Brother master is very polite, but the words qualified still make Lianruolan frown. All, what conditions? Lianruolan blinked and inquired. Well, the age must be commensurate with Xiu. Do NT want those who come to Linjiao Mountain to wait for meditation? And there must be a monk who is above the foundation building to guarantee it? Do NT have any roots? After all, our Elixir Mountain is not a junior school. We must accept these disciples. Lianruolan was annoyed when she heard, what? Don't you want the false spirit root and the mixed spirit root? The head of the real person was shocked. Mr. Mo Fei introduced the pseudo roots. Lianruolan said, the 5 elements are roots. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 159. 1/5 White brother made a move. The head of the house smiled bitterly, Sister Ruolan, I can't help you, brother. To prevent the monks in the door from being different, so this rule was set by the 6th generation ancestor. Lianruolan frowned. Why have I never heard of this rule? You haven't brought the roots of spirits before. The real man in charge grasped it out of thin air, and didn't know where he caught a spiritual card, and passed it to Lianruolan, look at it yourself. After Lianruolan watched, bit her lip, she did not expect to enter the door so strenuously, but fortunately, she did not bring a thief, otherwise, with his temperament, she would have left her. But he's not the ordinary psychic root. The real person in charge interrupted with a smile, it's useless to tell me, if the ancestors of the Qing dynasty agree, I'm just doing practical things. It seems that it is not enough to want to confuse, or go back to ask master. As soon as Lianruolan left, the door behind the house opened, and saw Brother Bai's elegant appearance coming out. Brother, please worship the brother. Brother Bai stunned his head to the end, with unspeakable joy on his face. How dare you, said the boss, quickly holding up Brother Bai. In fact, I didn't help. I just acted according to the rules. Don't thank me. If you want to thank, the boy is too poor. I don't know what kind of wind the Sister Ruolan pumped, brought back a psychic root, and let the ancestors of the Qing dynasty take over as disciples. Do you want other schools to laugh at us? Brother Bai said in his heart, what more? She smiled at that kid, Mom, I did nt want to tea for you, and I did nt see you smile at me. The head thought to himself and said to himself, but it is also difficult to say, the ancestor Yi Qinglu's love for sister Ruolan may be accurate. Brother Bai opened his eyes, yeah. Everyone knows how Lian Ruolan is favored, and Uncle Qingye can promise her. No, I have to talk to my master, the redhead ancestor. When Lian Ruolan returned to the cave on the mountain, she found that the ancestor of the Qing dynasty had left, and after waiting for a moment, she heard a voice outside. Sister Qinju, you have been staying in the realm of fake babies for a long time. When are you going to give this fake word? A woman's voice laughed. Green ancestor sighed and said, what fake baby is the complete success of Dandan? I rushed to Yuan one time last time, but it didn't work out. After a few days, things in the mountains will be settled, and I am ready to retreat, shocked to see if it can succeed in babies. Then I wish Sister Qingyu a breakthrough in advance. When Lian Ruolan heard it, he seemed to be the young master of the Yi family. Although this Yi family firm also has a lot of alchemists in the firm, those alchemists are far worse than the elixir mountain. The quality, quantity, grade, and type of high-grade elixir from the elixir mountain are all unparalleled by those crooked alchemists. Therefore, the Yi family firm will come to Linjiao Mountain to purchase a large number of elixir sales every quarter. For a long time, the two parties have established a very strong cooperative relationship. Most of them are sold through the Yi family, which is also a huge source of income for Linjiao. The contacts between the Yi family and the Linjiaoshan are Yi Manying and Qing Patriarch, both of whom are monks and women, so the relationship between the two sides is very good. I have seen Yi Manying. Yi Manying is also very fond of Lian Ruolan. Seeing Master and Yumening walk in, Lian Ruolan suddenly had an idea. If Yumening was in the presence of Master Yimen, would he be able to talk a little? Uncle Yi Lian Ruolan called out crisply to Yumening who walked in. Oh, it's Ruolan. Yumening also smiled happily when he saw Lian Ruolan. I didn't see you last time. I heard that you went out to practice, and now you're back. How is it? What's the gain? No. The green ancestor laughed. She is purely nonsense. How can you gain anything? Lian Ruolan pouted, Master, how can you judge the apprentice like this? While both women were laughing, Lian Ruolan went to Yi Menying and said, Uncle Yi, this time experienced in Beizai Fang City, but witnessed the opening of your Yi family's semicolon, and I also photographed the green snake netting you sold. Oh, yes, Yi Menying laughed. Then you're late. If you go a few days earlier, maybe you can meet me. Meeting you, you don't know me. I'm Yurong. Lian Ruolan took Yi Menying's arm and took her to sit down. Then she walked to the ancestor of Qingyu and made a pitifully said, Master, you can decide for me. The ancestor of Qingyuan didn't know what was happening to Lian Ruolan, and he was busy. What about you, girl? That's it. I went to the head of the brother just now, and he said that the monks I brought didn't meet the rules of entry, so I couldn't get started. King Yi's ancestor froze, his smiling face sinking suddenly, and asked, why? He said the 5 elements are not rooted. The roots of the 5 elements. Qing's ancestor thought she had heard it wrong. She looked at Lian Ruolan and nodded, and then she waved her hand. Jen, let me take it as a personal disciple. She quickly waved her hand again. No, absolutely no. Isn't this losing my face? Master. This minor repair is different, Lian Ruolan said anxiously. Everyone said that the 5 elements roots can't break through the early stage of gas cultivation, but he was able to achieve it by himself without any help. 4 layers of gas refining. I thought it was the 4th floor of the foundation. Qing's ancestor laughed and shook his head. What if he breaks through? Isn't he just a little monk who can just use a device? He can go to the 5th and 6th floors of gas refining well? Good luck at one time does not mean good luck forever. Of course, he can reach the 4th layer of gas refining, and he can reach the 5th layer of gas refining, or even higher. Lien Ruolan looked at no chance, and went to Yumening again. Uncle Yi, help me talk about it right. Although King Yi's ancestor had a good relationship with Yumening, but after all, they were two schools. In front of outsiders, the apprentice forced himself to accept a 5-element hybrid route as an apprentice. Lan, don't make a fool. Master, I didn't make a fool. Although Lien Ruolan rarely saw Master angry, he insisted, he is really different. He not only saved my life, but he was also a charm. Master, we are short of such talent in the mountains. When Yumening heard this, his heart suddenly moved and thought of someone. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 160. Order 159. Sister King Ai, if Roland said this, there must be a reason. It is better to let her bring someone, let you see, and then decide whether to accept him. Yumening interjected. Seeing Yumening's help, the ancestor of the Qing dynasty had no choice but to breathe a sigh of relief, and said, Ruolan, you are getting more and more ridiculous. Bring someone to me and I will see this. How does the 4-layered spirit roots of the spirits transcend ordinary people? Master Lien Ruolan hurried down the mountain to call Yakong. Looking at the back of Lien Ruolan's departure, the old ancestor of Qing Yuan sighed. This girl is really nonsense. Even if you have saved your life, you can't tell it in public. A real person who builds the 6th floor of the foundation needs to repair the life of the 4th floor of the gas to save his life. You are not afraid of losing face, but I am also afraid of losing face. At this time, I heard Yumening said, Sister Kinju, don't look down on the gas refining minor repair. This time I will encounter a gas refining minor repair, which is also the root of insanity, but I feel that this person will make a difference in the future. I do know. How is that possible? Qing's ancestor snorted and said, Sister Manying came to our mountain this time. What's the matter? Oh, that's it? Our Yi family is going to order twice the previous elixir from Ling Yaoshan. The main list is here, Yi Manying said of the business and was not ambiguous. Patriarch. The Kingzu ancestor looked at the list, looked surprised, and asked, why would it increase so much at once? I'm afraid that our elixir mountain alchemy can't keep up. Yumening is also a good hand in doing business. He has long calculated the alchemy of Linjiashan, and laughed at the moment. Sister Qingyu, we have also developed several companies this time. Ruolan also said just now we have set up a semicolon in the Barbarian Square, so the increase in sales is inevitable. And I believe that Gishan can take out so many elixir, and the establishment of Gishan for tens of thousands of years, the source is far-reaching. I think your inventory is still very large. You are really businessmen. We counted all the stocks of our medicine. The old ancestor smiled, and said, however, there is a reason why we have medicine in our medicine. How can we easily sell it? If something unexpected happens, it will be difficult to get it. Yumening shook his head and said, Sister King Ai, look at the list again. We are not buying those cherished high-quality elixir. All we want are low-quality elixir, Huanglongdan and other lower-level elixir. These elixir need medicine. It's easy to find, even if you do not have inventory, you can refine it at any time. In this remark, she talked about the ancestor of Qing, and said with a smile, even if we sell the elixir Shankan, but the price. Yumening also laughed, Sister King Ai, I'm helping you to open up the way to wealth. You will double the income of the spiritual stone every quarter in the future, so that those low-level monks can practice a little bit more. In terms of price, you do not have to deduct the old sister. We've changed houses. When Yi Menying and the ancestor of the barley were bargaining, Lian Ruolan also came to the welcome building where Yekong lived. After a little inquiries downstairs, he knew Yekong's room and went straight up. Yekong is thinking a little bit in the formation at this moment. Since the runes of the fireball curse are too stable, try a rune that is unstable and easy to inspire. When Yekong thought of drawing the yellow paper runes, if those marks of samovar and fire were transplanted from the runes on the yellow paper runes to the spiritual runes, would it be able to achieve the effect of burning on scratch? When he wanted to experiment, he suddenly felt something, raised his head, put away the items on the table, then opened the array, and saw Lian Ruolan and Zheng Tingting standing outside the house. Why? Come in, what do you stand at the door to see? Is it because I'm alone in the room, thinking about it? I also know that I'm handsome, but it's not my fault to be handsome, please ask you before you strong X me, think of my feelings. Go to you. Slick tongue, Lian Ruolan grinned, pushed Yekong, and shouted, I have no conscience, I'm busy with you, but you know that I'm taking advantage. Yekong frowned, and asked, what? Unsuccessful. Lian Ruolan knows Yekong's temper. If he tells the truth, he might be annoyed, and quickly laughed, it's not going to be smooth either, but you, the 5 elements, are my roots, and my master decided to see you face to face. Wow, mother-in-law looks at son-in-law. Little thief. You bully me again. Yekong laughed and hugged Lian Ruolan's soft body, but he was not in a hurry to do anything, but said softly in her ear, in fact, I also know that a monk with a spiritual root bumps into the wall wherever he goes. Yes, not to mention the big martial arts such as Ling Yaoshan, the Xianxian family like Huangzhou Wanjia, who also turned me away at the beginning, so I know that it is not easy for you to convince your master, Ruolan, thank you. Lian Ruolan was so touched, she lay on Yekong's chest, and couldn't help but smile a little at the corner of her mouth, which was like a human word. I was so relieved, but then she found out, the kid turned his hand towards the soft, sturdy pink stocks under her waist. Dead little thief. You can't be serious, Lian Ruolan whispered. I'm serious now. Yekong's face was calm, of course, he was really serious about Ruolan's fart. Well, master is still waiting for us. Lian Ruolan was rubbed red by his face, and peach blossoms rose on his neck. He didn't dare let him do it anymore, and quickly pushed Yekong away, and told him my master is a monk who has achieved great success in Dandan. If she has nowhere to breathe, you must not hit her. Yekong nodded, if you are assured, your master is my master, and I also know Tsunami's rituals. I will neither admire her nor hit her. Even if she asks for it, I will strictly reject it. She, after all, is already a centuries-old granny. Lian Ruolan smiled bitterly, so what's wrong with his words? Under the admonition of Lian Ruolan, Yekong came to the top of Linjiao mountain, and practiced the monk's cave. Although it is a cave house for Lian Fanchen, because of the many customs in the mountain and the complicated communication, this place is actually the residence of Lian Fanchen and the monk Xing Lian. At the door, Lian Ruolan went in advance, and after a while, someone called Yekong to enter. Although it is in a cave, there is no cave in this cave. Along the way, there are strange flowers and beautiful flowers, and there are green fairy grass vines on both sides, mountains and waterfalls, and they are really beautiful. Yekong is amazed. I also plan to wait until I become a powerful monk, and I want to make such a wonderful that's the place to live. Entering the hall of Dongfu, Yekong saw a young and beautiful young woman sitting on the host seat. At a glance, Yunyan hai-combed, and a palace dress highlighting her graceful undulating figure. The Mad Cultivator. Author, Xianxia. Chapter 161. See you in green. I didn't expect the ancestors of Qingying to be so young and beautiful, but Yekong also knew that don't look at the ancestors of Qingying to be younger than Feng Xiniang, but other ages were 10 times that of Feng Xini. What surprised Yekong was that the man sitting next to the ancestor of King Yi turned out to be Yuman Ying, the owner of the Yi family firm Xiamen. The so-called person is more deadly than popularity. Like the nuns in the mountain, all of them are as beautiful as flowers, but when they encounter Lian Rulan, they can only enjoy it for themselves. Now it's the same, although the ancestor of the green ancestor is full of beauty, but compared with the Yumaning around him, it is inferior. After listening to Huan Quan's ancestors, it seems that this woman is still true after she is a shadow clan. Although Yimenying still covered his face with veil, but the peerless appearance made the man surprised, and Ting Ting was sitting there, it already made people feel amazing. Yekong, Ye family of the southern capital, met with the ancestor of the Qing dynasty Yekong, regardless of Yimenying, hurried over to see the ceremony, being polite enough to describe it as a horror. Sure enough, Yekong's move won the nod of the ancestors of King Yi. On the weekdays, those monks were amazed by the beauty of the ancestors of King Yi and could not control the rudeness to watch. Dashan liked it, raised his hand and said, "No polite, get up, listen to Rulan, you have done a lot of tricks, but is it true?" Before Yekong answered, Yimenying answered, "Of course, even the first master of the barbarian system is not his opponent." Yimenying was a little skeptical that Lian Rulan was talking about this boy. Now, if you look at it, it really is this boy. Although Yimenying left Beizai village, she was still very concerned about the news there. Yekong's successful breakthrough in the early stages of the alchemy and the victory over the bald eagle made her very surprised. Although Ying Bald, the first amulet of the barbaric tribe, was not worth mentioning at all in her opinion, but after all, this kid has only 4 levels of refining period. If he cultivates for ascension in the future, the charm system will be even brighter. Therefore, Yimenying instructed Gao Yuanyang to draw Yekong and wanted to absorb it into the Yi family's business. However, when Gao Yuanyang wanted to draw a lot of friends, he did not bid farewell. After listening to Yimenying's words, the ancestor of Qingying and Lian Rulan were very surprised. The ancestor of Qingying was surprised that this boy was really superbly skilled in charm making. She had never heard the name of the bald, but the first amulet of the barbarians, the title is still quite bluffing. Lian Rulan was surprised that Yekong could not even understand Yimenying. Yekong heard Yimenying speak, and quickly saluted, "Yimen, it's been a long absence." "This guy is very polite today," Yimenying laughed. "How can I hear that someone has worshipped Bone Spirit Gate and changed its name to Xiahui?" Regarding Yimenying's shameless disclosure, Yekong hadn't spoken yet, and Lian Rulan said, "It's also a helpless move. The Ye family mortal is the enemy of the barbarians. At this moment, the two sides are at war. Yekong is also in order to prevent this trouble." "Oh, is it?" Yimenying turned around, looked at Yekong, and laughed. "That Yekong, I ask you. Now you want to worship Linjiao Mountain, you are not afraid of your ancestor Chengzhen's heart rippling. I'm here to trouble you." Yekong heard that he was going to vomit blood. "You weren't pure trouble, I said it casually at that time, how could you get it out at this time?" Sure enough, the old ancestor of Fang Qing frowned suddenly and asked, "Spring heart rippling 3 or 6 or 9? This person's name is shameless and inferior disciples, how can he practice with such people?" Seeing that the old ancestor of King Yi was not good, Yekong quickly returned to Bingdao. "Back to the old ancestor, I was posing as Xiahui, the Bone Spirit Gate, and I was asked about the Bone Spirit Gate ancestor. This name makes you laugh." Qing Ye's ancestors also believed that no one would give this name to herself, but she still said displeasedly, "Just make a mess, don't make such a disgusting name." At first, the ancestors of King Yi felt pretty good about Yekong. As her apprentice, there was no charm skill. Secondly, they were skilled in refining medicine. She paid more attention to the apprentice's character. When she heard that Yekong had made up such titles, she felt that there was a possibility that her mind might be wrong. With this kind of thought in mind, the old ancestor of King Yi was not very enthusiastic. After asking a few gossips casually, he ordered a guest. Yedaiu, we still have something to do. If you go back to rest and get started, we have to think about it and we will inform you. Ye Kong heard this and knew that the success rate was not high. On the earth, when the job interview is over, it is generally said that this is no good. If you really wait, you can't wait until the hair turns gray. It's that human ying, she obviously did it on purpose, Ye Kong hummed angrily when he came out of the cave. He knew very well that if it were not for Yi Meniying's words, the ancestor of King Ai would have agreed to accept the apprentice. Isn't it deliberate? Although Lian Ruolan also blamed Yi Meniying for talking, she didn't believe that a monk named Dan deliberately stirred up the younger generation to learn from a teacher. Ye Kong annoyed, why not intentional? These businessmen are savagely dead. How can one say something casually, and you see that her successive words are directed at me? Lian Ruolan felt some truth, but she couldn't figure out why Yi Meniying wanted this. But what good is this to her? Why should she embarrass you, little monk? Lian Ruolan wondered. Not yet in Beizai village, she said that I would not break through the early stages of the refining period, and I argued with her a few times, and she must hate me for it. Lian Ruolan now knows that the two were a bit small. Ye Kong was not good at first, and offending people in words is often, but what Lian Ruolan despises is that this Yu Meniying is too vengeful, even for such a small matter, others' future is blocked. I didn't expect her to be this kind of person, Lian Ruolan also scolded angrily, and then she comforted, don't worry too much, after all, master hasn't decided yet, I will work harder when I look back. The first impression is very important, I'm afraid that she will really get rid of it this time. Ye Kong sighed. Lian Ruolan couldn't see him like this, and laughed, don't worry, tell you the good news. I've got Dan Fang of Qingyandan. Really? When Ye Kong heard the overjoy, he gave Chen Juniang a cure for his face. It was a top priority. Even if he couldn't enter the magic medicine mountain and get Qingyandan, he would be satisfied. Ye Kong said as she stretched out her hand to refine Ruolan, but she was quickly pushed away. Don't be seen. Lian Ruolan quickly pushed away Ye Kong's hand and whispered, I'll take you to visit the alchemy square, there, no one. Okay. Ye Kong received the good news, and he was in a good mood. After seeing Lian Ruolan's shame and timidity, he immediately forgot the discomfort with Yi Meniying, and followed Lian Ruolan to the most important place of Lingyao Mountain, Alchemy Square.